Doctor enters the grocery store and trembles upon seeing his pregnant ex-wife at the checkout. Dr. Michael Johnson felt his world collapse when his eyes landed on that round belly behind checkout number 3. 6 months had passed since they signed the divorce papers, and now Jennifer was there, clearly pregnant, at least 7 months along, scanning items with the same gentle care she once used to tend to their patients when they worked together. The blood pressure medication he had rushed in to buy slipped from his trembling hands as he mentally calculated the dates. The math added up perfectly. She was pregnant from when they were still married. "Next!" Jennifer called without looking up, her voice still carrying the same sweet tone that had enchanted him in medical school 15 years earlier. Michael stood frozen in the middle of the aisle, watching her every move. The grocery store's blue uniform was visibly tight, and she kept adjusting her position to hide her discomfort. An elderly woman complained about the price of fruit, and Jennifer responded with endless patience, smiling even as the customer grew rude. "Doctor, are you all right?" a voice asked behind him. Michael turned and saw Harold, the store's security guard, a black man in his 50s, watching him with concern. "I'm fine, thank you," Michael murmured, forcing a smile. But he wasn't fine. He was in complete panic. How could Jennifer be pregnant without him knowing? Why hadn't she told him? And more importantly, why was she working as a cashier when she had 2 college degrees? He decided to get in her line. He needed to understand what was happening. Each step toward the checkout felt like an eternity. When it was finally his turn, Jennifer looked up and froze. "Michael," she whispered, her hands hovering over the keyboard. "Hi, Jen," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "How are you?" She quickly tugged her apron to better hide her belly, but it was impossible to disguise. Her dark eyes, once always bright, looked tired, and Michael noticed deep circles she had tried to cover with makeup. I'm fine," she replied, avoiding his gaze. "Is this all?" she asked, pointing to the medication. "Actually, I came to get this for a patient," Michael lied. "Jen, can we talk?" "I'm working," she said flatly, scanning the medication. $16.50, she informed him, holding out her hand for payment. Michael handed over the money but held her hand a second longer than necessary. Her skin was ice cold, despite the store's warmth. "Please," he insisted, "just 5 minutes." Jennifer glanced around nervously. The store manager, a heavy-set man in his 40s, watched from a distance with a stern expression. "I can't. I need to work," she said, handing him his change and already calling the next customer. Michael left the grocery store completely shaken. In his car, he sat for nearly 20 minutes trying to process what he had just seen. Jennifer was pregnant. Jennifer was working at a grocery store. Jennifer was clearly struggling financially. And he had known nothing. That night, in the apartment they once shared and now occupied alone, Michael couldn't sleep. He paced back and forth, trying to understand how things had come to this. The divorce had been his decision, made during a time of personal and professional crisis. He had felt suffocated, pressured, and thought he needed space to find himself. Jennifer had accepted it with a dignity that had irritated him at the time, but now he recognized as simply her way. He never asked for explanations, never made a scene, simply signed the papers and left the house taking only his clothes and a few personal items. He refused any kind of alimony or division of assets, saying he wanted to start from scratch. The next morning, Michael returned to the grocery store. This time he brought a long shopping list he didn't even need, just to have a plausible excuse. He arrived early as soon as the store opened and watched Jennifer from a distance. She arrived promptly at 7 in the morning, greeting her co-workers politely. Michael noticed she carried an old, worn-out bag, very different from the leather ones she used to wear. Her curly hair was tied in a simple bun, and she wore a pair of well-worn white sneakers. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. As he began his shopping, Michael overheard a conversation between 2 cleaning staff. "Poor Jennifer," said one of them, a black woman with graying hair. "Yesterday she almost fainted again." "It's too much pressure for a pregnant woman," replied the other. Standing for 8 hours isn't easy, and Mr. Frank doesn't even care. He only thinks about profit. Michael approached discreetly. Has she worked here long? He asked, pretending to look for something on the nearby shelves. 3 months, answered the first woman. She showed up here desperate, really needing the job. She's a polite, studious girl. They say she graduated from medical school, but I don't know if it's true. It is true, confirmed the other. She helped me the other day when my blood pressure spiked. Knew exactly what to do. But it seems she had some problems and had to start over. Michael's stomach twisted. Jennifer had been struggling for 3 months, and he hadn't known a thing. He'd always imagined she was doing fine, maybe working at some hospital or private clinic. It never crossed his mind that she could be facing serious financial troubles. He decided to approach the manager. Frank Miller was known in the area as a difficult man, one who exploited his employees and paid as little as possible. Michael found him in the makeshift office at the back of the grocery store. Good afternoon, Michael greeted. I'd like to talk about one of your employees. Frank looked him up and down, noticing the expensive watch and designer clothes. Which employee? He asked suspiciously. Jennifer, the one at Register 3. Oh, the pregnant one, Frank said dismissively. What trouble has she caused now? No trouble, Michael said quickly. Actually, I wanted to know about her work. Is she a good employee? Frank let out a sarcastic laugh. Good employee? She's too stubborn. Won't do overtime. Always complaining she has to leave on time because of doctor's appointments. And on top of that, she's pregnant. If it weren't for the shortage of people willing to work, I'd have fired her long ago. Michael felt anger rising inside him, but kept his composure. I see. And how did she get the job here? She showed up 3 months ago crying, saying she really needed work. I was going to send her away right then, but she begged so much I gave her a chance. Now I regret it. Pregnant employees are nothing but trouble. Michael left the office wanting to punch Frank, but managed to restrain himself. He went home even more confused and worried. If Jennifer had sought that job 3 months ago, it meant her financial troubles had started before the pregnancy he'd just discovered. Or maybe not. He decided to dig deeper. The next day, he returned to the grocery store again, but this time he waited for Jennifer to leave. She finished her shift at 5 in the evening and walked to the bus stop. Michael followed her from a distance in his car. The bus took nearly 40 minutes to arrive. Jennifer was visibly tired, leaning against the pole and rubbing her back. When the bus finally arrived, it was packed. Michael saw her struggling to get on and felt a pang of guilt. He followed the bus until she got off in a working-class neighborhood, almost an hour from the grocery store. Jennifer walked down several streets before stopping in front of a small, poorly maintained building. Michael parked across the street and watched her climb the outdoor stairs to the second floor. It was nothing like the comfortable apartment they had shared. His heart ached as he realized how drastically her life had changed. That night, he couldn't focus on work. In the middle of a complex surgery, his assistant had to call his attention twice. Dr. Michael, are you okay? Asked Dr. Robert, his colleague of many years. I'm fine, Michael lied, trying to concentrate on the operation. But he wasn't fine. He couldn't stop thinking about Jennifer, the pregnancy, her circumstances. After the surgery, Robert found him in the locker room. Michael, you've been off for days. Want to talk? Robert had been his best friend since medical residency. If there was anyone Michael could trust, it was him. It's about Jennifer, Michael finally said. Your ex-wife? What about her? I saw her working as a cashier at a grocery store, and she's pregnant. Robert stopped changing and stared at Michael. Pregnant? How? 7, maybe 8 months. The timeline matches when we were still married. Michael, are you sure? Positive. And Robert, she's struggling, working at a grocery store, living in a modest neighborhood, riding packed buses every day. Robert sat on the bench processing the news. Man, this is serious. If the baby's yours... It is, Michael interrupted. I'm absolutely sure. Jennifer would never cheat. But why didn't she tell me? How long has it been since the divorce? 6 months. And you've had no contact since? None. It was all very cold, very formal. She wanted to cut all ties. Robert shook his head. Michael, you need to talk to her. Find out what really happened. I tried, she won't speak to me. Then you need another way. A baby's involved here, your baby. Michael knew Robert was right, but he didn't know how to approach Jennifer. She was clearly avoiding him. He needed a different strategy. The next morning, he decided to look for Amanda, Jennifer's younger sister. They had always been close, and maybe Amanda could help him understand the situation. He found her at the clothing store where she worked downtown. She looked visibly uncomfortable when he walked in. Michael, what are you doing here? I need to talk to you about Jennifer. Amanda glanced around nervously. I can't talk now, I'm working. Amanda, please. It's important. I saw Jennifer yesterday. She's pregnant. Amanda's face completely changed. She turned pale and began trembling. You didn't know? Michael asked, noticing her reaction. Amanda stopped, clearly conflicted. Michael, I can't talk about this here. Meet me at 7 tonight at the cafe on Blossom Street. Michael spent the rest of the day anxious, wondering what Amanda might reveal. He arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early and chose a secluded table in the back. Amanda showed up right on time, but was visibly nervous. She ordered just coffee and kept stirring it without drinking. Michael, I shouldn't be talking to you, but she began. Why not? Because Jennifer made me promise not to, but seeing you here, I realize she hasn't told you anything. Told me what, Amanda? Amanda took a deep breath before speaking. The pregnancy. Jennifer found out she was pregnant 2 days after you signed the divorce papers. Michael felt as if he'd been punched in the gut. What do you mean 2 days later? She'd been feeling nauseous for weeks but thought it was stress because of your problems. When she finally took the test, the papers were already signed. But why didn't she tell me? I would have what, Michael? Amanda interrupted sharply. Come back out of obligation? Cancelled the divorce out of pity? Michael fell silent, processing the information. Jennifer told me you'd made it very clear you didn't want to stay married, that you needed freedom, that you felt trapped. How could she show up 2 days later with a pregnancy? She could have tried. Michael, Amanda said firmly, you know my sister. She's proud. She wouldn't force a situation you clearly didn't want. But it's my child, Amanda. I had the right to know. You did. But she thought you had more of a right to live your life without guilt. Michael ran his hands through his hair, feeling completely lost. How is she doing financially? I saw she's working at a grocery store. Amanda looked down. Not great. When you divorced, she left the hospital where you worked together. Said it would be too awkward to stay. She tried finding work elsewhere, but what? Michael, you two were well known in the medical field. After the divorce, rumors started. Some colleagues thought maybe she'd done something wrong professionally. Others assumed you'd fought over work issues. No one wanted to get involved in a messy situation. Michael felt anger rising inside him. He'd never spoken badly about Jennifer to anyone, but apparently people had their own theories. So she couldn't get a medical job? She got a few interviews, but when they found out she was pregnant and separated... Amanda shrugged. You know how the job market is for pregnant women. That's why she's at the grocery store. It's all she could get, and even that was hard. The owner only agreed because she begged. Michael felt a mix of anger, guilt, and sadness. Amanda, where is she living? A small apartment in Westside. It's simple but clean. She's making do. I need to talk to her. Michael, she doesn't want to talk to you. Leave her alone. It's my child, Amanda, Michael repeated firmly. I have rights and responsibilities. Amanda studied him for a long moment. If you really want to help, do it from a distance. She doesn't want your pity. It's not pity, it's responsibility. To her, it's the same thing. Michael went home even more confused than before. Now he knew the truth about the pregnancy, but it only complicated things further. Jennifer had chosen to hide it to avoid seeming like she was forcing a reconciliation. He understood her reasoning, but disagreed. Over the following days, Michael settled into a routine. He stopped by the grocery store daily, always buying something small and trying to exchange a few words with Jennifer. She kept their conversations strictly professional, but he noticed she looked increasingly tired. On a rainy Thursday, Michael arrived at the store and didn't see Jennifer at the register. He searched the aisles and finally found her sitting on a stool in the back, her head in her hands. "Jennifer?" he called softly. She looked up. She was pale and sweating. "Michael," she said weakly. "What's wrong? Are you sick?" "Just a little dizzy, it's passing." Michael stepped closer and touched her forehead. She was feverish. "You have a fever. You need to go home." "I can't. Mr. Frank is already upset about my morning sickness. If I leave early today, he might fire me." "Jennifer, you're 8 months pregnant. Your body is exhausted. You need to rest." "I need to work," she said stubbornly, trying to stand up. Michael held her by the arms. "Don't be stubborn. At least let me examine you properly." Jennifer looked at him for a moment as if considering accepting help. Then she shook her head. "I don't need to. I'm fine." But she clearly wasn't fine. Michael could see signs of anemia, high blood pressure, and extreme exhaustion. As a doctor, he knew she was taking serious risks. "Jennifer, how's your prenatal care going?" "It's adequate." "Where are you getting it?" "At the neighborhood health clinic." Michael knew that clinic. It was overburdened, with poorly qualified staff and outdated equipment. Not ideal for a high-risk pregnancy, which hers clearly was. "You need better care. I can refer you to a colleague." "Michael, stop," Jennifer said firmly. "I don't want your help. I don't want anything from you. Please, leave me alone." She struggled to her feet and went back to the register. Michael stood there for a few minutes, feeling utterly powerless. He wanted to help, but Jennifer was being impossible. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. That night, Michael couldn't focus on anything. He was on duty at the hospital when Robert approached him. "You look worried." "It's Jennifer." "Robert, she's in a risky situation. 8 months pregnant, working 8-hour shifts on her feet, getting prenatal care at a rundown clinic, and she refuses to accept any help from me. Have you tried talking to her family?" "Her sister, but she also thinks I should leave Jennifer alone." Robert thought for a moment. "Michael, maybe you're approaching this the wrong way." "How so?" "You're trying to help out of guilt or obligation. She senses that. Maybe if you approached it differently." "How?" "As someone who genuinely cares about her, not just as the baby's father." Michael paused. Robert was right. He'd been acting like he had some claim over Jennifer because of the pregnancy. But what if he simply approached her as someone who cared about her well-being? The next day, Michael changed his strategy. Instead of going to the grocery store, he sent flowers to Jennifer with a simple note. "Hope you're doing well, Michael." No response, but he hadn't expected one. On the second day, he sent a fruit basket with prenatal vitamins. On the third, a book on motherhood he knew she'd like. On the fourth day, Jennifer came to the hospital. Michael was leaving surgery when the receptionist told him he had a visitor. In the waiting room, he found Jennifer sitting in a chair, visibly uncomfortable in the hospital setting she knew so well. "Jennifer," he said, surprised, "how are you?" "I need to talk to you," she said bluntly. He led her to his office. Jennifer sat carefully, hands resting on her belly. "Michael, you need to stop with the gifts." "Why?" "Because it's putting me in an awkward position. My co-workers at the store are asking questions. Mr. Frank is suspicious." "Suspicious of what?" "He thinks I'm getting favors from some wealthy customer. It could cause trouble for me." Michael hadn't considered that. "Jennifer, I just want to help." "I know, but I can't accept your help." "Why not?" Jennifer took a deep breath before answering. "Because you abandoned me, Michael, when I needed you most. You said you needed space, that you felt suffocated, that our marriage was holding back your career. How can I accept your help now?" Her words cut through him like a blade. He remembered that conversation exactly. It had been brutal and final. "Jennifer, I was going through a crisis. I wasn't thinking straight." "You were thinking straight enough to ask for a divorce." "If I had known about the pregnancy." "It wouldn't have changed anything," she interrupted. "You didn't want me anymore. A baby wasn't going to change that." Maybe it would have. Jennifer shook her head. Michael, I don't want you coming back out of obligation. I don't want you taking on responsibilities you don't truly want. It's better this way. What if I say I do want to take on those responsibilities? I'd say you're feeling guilty, and guilt isn't a good foundation for anything. Michael leaned forward. Jennifer, no matter what happened between us, this baby is mine. I have the right to be part of his life. You do, she agreed, but you don't have the right to help me out of pity. It's not pity. Then what is it? Michael paused to think. What did he really feel for Jennifer? Guilt was certainly part of it, but there was something else. It's concern. You're working too hard, pushing yourself too much. As a doctor, I know that's not good for you or the baby. As a doctor, Jennifer repeated with irony. Not as an ex-husband who cares about me. Also as an ex-husband who cares about you, Michael admitted quietly. Jennifer studied him for a long moment. Michael, when you asked for the divorce, you said you didn't love me anymore, that our marriage had become just a habit, remember? Michael remembered, and he bitterly regretted every word. I know what I said, and I regret it. Do you regret it because you found out I'm having your child, or do you regret it because you've actually changed your mind about us? It was a fair question, and Michael knew he had to be honest. I don't know, he admitted. I know I made a huge mistake. I know you didn't deserve to be treated that way, and I know I want to do right by you now. Do right by me, Jennifer repeated, out of obligation. Jennifer, please let me help, at least financially. You don't have to work at that grocery store. I like my job. You like standing on your feet for 8 hours dealing with rude customers while 8 months pregnant? Jennifer didn't answer right away. It's honest work, she said finally. I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning whether it's safe for you and the baby. The doctor at the clinic said it's fine. Which doctor? Dr. Williams? He's 70 and hasn't kept up with medicine in decades. Michael, stop. You don't get to criticize my medical care. Yes, I do. I'm the baby's father. Then let's talk about that, Jennifer said, shifting the subject. About your rights as a father. Michael realized she was being strategic, steering the conversation to safer ground. What kind of involvement do you want in the baby's life? She asked. Total, Michael answered without hesitation. I want to be there for everything. Even if that means seeing me often? Especially because of that. Jennifer seemed surprised by his answer. Michael, we can't pretend to be friends. Our separation was too painful. We don't have to pretend anything, but we do have to find a way to coexist for the baby's sake. And you think you can do that? Be civil with me? I think I can try. Jennifer stood up with some difficulty. I'll think about what you said. But Michael, I want to make one thing clear. Accepting your involvement in the baby's life doesn't mean accepting your help for me. They're two different things. Why do they have to be different? Because they are. The baby is our responsibility. I am my own responsibility. She moved toward the door, but Michael stopped her. Jennifer, wait. At least let me drive you home. It's raining and you shouldn't be taking the bus in your condition. I'm used to it. That's no excuse. Jennifer hesitated. Michael could see she was tired and the rain was really coming down. All right, he finally agreed, but it's just a ride. Nothing more than that. During the drive to her place, they stayed silent. Michael took the chance to observe her discreetly. Jennifer looked different, thinner in the face despite her large belly, and seemed more mature, as if the last few months had forced a growth that should have taken years. When they reached her building, Michael was shocked by its condition. It was worse than he'd imagined from a distance. There were leaks. The outdoor stairs were poorly maintained and there was no elevator. Jennifer, you climb these stairs every day. Just 2 floors, she said, as if it were nothing. 8 months pregnant. Michael, please don't start. But Michael was too worried to stop. It's dangerous. What if you slip? What if you feel sick? I won't slip and I won't feel sick. Jennifer, be reasonable. At least let me rent you a better apartment. No. Why not? Because then I'd be dependent on you. And when you get tired of playing charity, I'll be in a worse spot than I am now. I won't get tired. You don't know that. You said yourself you don't even know what you feel. Michael had no answer for that. Jennifer was right. He really didn't know what he felt. Thanks for the ride, she said, stepping out of the car. Michael watched her climb the stairs slowly, gripping the railing. He didn't leave until he saw the light turn on the second floor. Over the next few days, Michael couldn't stop thinking about their conversation. Jennifer had hit a nerve. He truly didn't know what he felt for her. He knew he felt guilty. He knew he felt responsible. But what about his genuine feelings for her as a person? He decided to test himself. He tried to imagine how he'd feel if he found out Jennifer was with another man. The reaction was immediate and intense, pure jealousy. That said something about his feelings. He tried to picture her happy with someone else, building a family with another man. The thought made him physically sick. That also said something. Finally, he imagined his future without Jennifer and without the baby on the way. Life felt empty and meaningless, and that said everything. Michael realized he had never stopped loving Jennifer. The divorce had been a decision made during a personal and professional crisis, when he felt lost and pressured. But the feelings had never truly gone away. The problem was convincing Jennifer. She had valid reasons to doubt his motives. He needed to prove his feelings were genuine, not just a reaction to the pregnancy. He decided to start small. Instead of grand gestures, he began doing little things to show real care. He found out she loved mango ice cream and started bringing her one every day after work. Not to convince her of anything, just because he knew she liked it. Jennifer accepted the ice cream with a puzzled look, as if she couldn't figure out what he was trying to do. One afternoon, when he handed her the ice cream, she finally asked, "Michael, what do you want with this?" "Nothing. I just know you like mango ice cream." "But why are you doing it?" "Because I want to do something that makes you happy, even if it's small." Jennifer studied him for a moment. "And what do you get out of it?" "Seeing you smile." She didn't reply, but Michael noticed her defenses were starting to lower slightly. He kept up with the small gestures. He found out she was struggling to get good prenatal vitamins at the community health clinic and started leaving bottles at the grocery store's front desk, unmarked. When he found out she was having constant heartburn, he left safe natural remedies for pregnant women. Jennifer never mentioned these gifts, but she stopped refusing them. One Friday evening, Michael was at the hospital when he got an unexpected call. It was Harold, the security guard at the grocery store. "Dr. Michael, it's Harold from the grocery store." "Harold, how did you get my number?" "Jennifer got sick here. She's asking me to call you." Michael felt his heart race. "What do you mean, sick?" "She fainted at the checkout. We already called an ambulance, but she's asking for you." "I'm on my way." Michael rushed out of the hospital and got to the grocery store in record time. He found Jennifer sitting in a chair, pale and shaking, with a paramedic checking her blood pressure. "Jennifer," he called, running to her. "Michael," she said with relief. "I'm sorry to bother you, but don't be silly. How are you feeling?" "Dizzy and my back hurts." The paramedic turned to Michael. "Her blood pressure is high. We recommend she goes to the hospital for some tests." "Absolutely," said Michael. "Can I ride with her in the ambulance? I'm a doctor and the baby's father." "Of course." On the way to the hospital, Michael held Jennifer's hand. She didn't pull away. "Michael, if something happens to me..." "Nothing's going to happen." "If it does, take care of the baby. Promise?" "Nothing's going to happen," Michael repeated firmly. "And I'll take care of both of you, you and the baby." Jennifer looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Michael, I'm scared." "Scared of what?" "That something will go wrong. That I won't be a good mother. That I won't be able to raise the baby right." Michael squeezed her hand. "You'll be a wonderful mother. And you're not alone." "Yes, I am." "No, you have me." "Michael." "Jennifer, I made a terrible mistake. The biggest mistake of my life, but if you give me a chance, I want to make things right." "A chance for what?" "To show you I really care about you. Not just because of the baby, because of you." Jennifer didn't answer, but she didn't let go of his hand. At the hospital, Michael used his connections to make sure Jennifer got the best care. The tests showed signs of mild preeclampsia, a condition that required complete rest and close monitoring. "Dr. Michael," said Dr. Emily, the obstetrician who examined Jennifer, "your wife needs to rest for the next few days. No work, no stress, and daily medical checkups." "Ex-wife," Jennifer corrected softly. "I see," said Dr. Emily without judgment. "Either way, she can't be alone. She needs someone to take care of her." Michael looked at Jennifer. "You can stay at my apartment. There's a guest suite. You'd have complete privacy." "Michael, I can't." "Jennifer, it's for your health and the baby's. It's not a favor. It's a medical necessity." Dr. Emily agreed. "He's right. You need rest and medical supervision. If you don't have family who can care for you—" "I'll take care of her," Michael said quickly. Jennifer was silent for a long moment. "For how long?" "Until the baby is born," Dr. Emily replied, "and for a few weeks after delivery." "That's almost 2 months," said Jennifer. "I know," said Michael, "and I want to take care of you during that time." "Why?" Michael took a deep breath before answering. "Because I love you, Jennifer. I never stopped loving you, and because I want to do the right thing." Jennifer looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Michael, I don't know if I can trust you again. Then let me earn your trust back, day by day." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Jennifer finally agreed to stay at Michael's apartment, but set clear rules. She would stay in the guest suite, they would maintain a strictly friendly relationship, and she would be responsible for her own meals and personal care. Michael agreed to everything, just happy to have her close where he could ensure she was safe. The first few days were awkward. Michael would leave for work in the morning and return at night, always asking how she was. Jennifer was polite but distant, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. On the third day, Michael came home and found Jennifer in the kitchen, trying to cook while leaning on the counter because she couldn't stand for long. "Jennifer, what are you doing?" "Making dinner." "You should be resting." "I can't lie down all the time, and I need to stay independent." Michael walked over and saw she was making pasta with a simple sauce. "Let me finish this for you." "You don't have to. Jennifer, you're shaking from exhaustion. Please let me help." She looked at him for a moment and then gave in, sitting on a high stool. "Thank you," she murmured. As Michael finished dinner, they talked about trivial things, the weather, the news, how she was feeling. It was the longest conversation they'd had since she arrived. "Michael," she said as they ate, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you really ask for the divorce?" "The real reason." Michael stopped eating. It was a question he knew would come eventually. "I was going through a professional crisis. I'd lost some patients, was questioning my competence as a doctor, and at the same time, I felt our life had become too routine." "Routine how?" "Work, home, work, home. Always the same. I felt like I was living on autopilot." Jennifer nodded. "And you thought the problem was our marriage?" "I did. Now I realize the problem was me. I was depressed, anxious, but I couldn't see it at the time." "And why didn't you talk to me about it?" Michael sighed. "Because I was afraid you'd think I was weak. You were always so strong, so sure of yourself. I didn't want you to see me as inadequate." "Michael, we were married. Couples talk about problems. I know that now. Back then, I just felt suffocated and thought I needed space." "And did you get the space you wanted?" Michael looked at her directly. "I did. And I found that space without you is just loneliness." Jennifer lowered her eyes. "Michael, I also need to be honest about something." "What?" "In the last months of our marriage, I knew something was wrong. You were distant, irritable, and I didn't know how to help. I started to think maybe you were interested in someone else." Michael was shocked. "Someone else?" "There was never anyone else, Jennifer. I know that now. But back then, with you so distant, I even thought maybe you wanted to be free to be with someone." "Jennifer, I never—" "I know," she interrupted. But when you asked for the divorce, it kind of confirmed my fears. I thought you really didn't want me anymore. And that's why you didn't tell me about the pregnancy. Exactly. If you didn't want me anymore, how could you want the baby? Michael leaned forward. Jennifer, I always wanted you. I never stopped wanting you. I was just confused and made the wrong choices. And now? Now I know exactly what I want. I want you. I want our baby. I want our family back. Jennifer was silent for a long moment. Michael, it's still too soon to talk about this. First, I need to be sure you've really changed, and I need to understand my own feelings. How much time do you need? I don't know. Maybe the time I'll be here will be enough for us to figure it out. And if we find out we still love each other, then we'll talk about what to do. And if we find out it doesn't work anymore, Jennifer hesitated before answering, then we'll find a way to be parents together without being a couple. Michael nodded, though the idea made him sad. Okay. No pressure. No pressure, Jennifer agreed. In the following days, they settled into a comfortable routine. Michael would leave for work but always called to check on her. He came home for lunch when possible, and they always had dinner together. Jennifer began to feel more at ease. She started using other parts of the apartment beyond the master suite, watching TV in the living room, and even cooking occasionally. One evening, Michael came home and found Jennifer crying in the living room. Jennifer, what's wrong? He asked, rushing to her. It's nothing serious, she said, wiping her tears. Just hormones. Are you sure? Michael, I'm scared. Scared of what? Of being a mother. Of not knowing how to take care of a baby. Of not having enough money to give them everything they'll need. Michael sat beside her on the couch. Jennifer, you're going to be a wonderful mother. You're caring, smart, patient. But what if I fail? What if something goes wrong during delivery? What if the baby is born with a problem? Michael hugged her gently. Jennifer, every parent has these fears. It's normal, but you're not alone. I'll be here to help with everything. What if you get tired? What if you decide it's too much responsibility? I won't get tired, and I won't give up. Jennifer, this baby is ours. We'll take care of them together no matter what happens between us. Jennifer rested her head on his shoulder. Michael, I miss when we were happy. We can be happy again. You think so? I do, if you want to try. Jennifer didn't answer, but she didn't pull away from the embrace either. The following week, Jennifer had a routine checkup with Dr. Emily. Michael went with her, and they both waited anxiously for the test results. Good news, Dr. Emily said. Your blood pressure is under control and the baby is growing well. The rest seems to be working. Does that mean I can go back to work? Jennifer asked. No, Dr. Emily said firmly. You need to keep resting until delivery. Any stress could raise your blood pressure again. Jennifer looked disappointed. But I'll lose my job. Jennifer, Michael said, you don't need to worry about that right now. Of course I do. How will I support myself after the baby is born? We'll find a solution, Michael said. What solution? Michael took a deep breath. Jennifer, marry me again. Jennifer fell silent, clearly shocked. Michael, I know it's too soon to talk about this, but Jennifer, it makes sense. We love each other. We're having a child together, and you need financial stability. Michael, I can't marry for convenience. It wouldn't be for convenience. It would be for love. Are you sure it's love? Or is it guilt and responsibility? Michael paused before answering. Jennifer, these past few weeks, living with you, I've remembered why I fell in love with you from the very first day. You're strong, brave, independent, but also caring and vulnerable. You make me want to be a better person. Michael, you don't have to answer now. Just think about it. Jennifer nodded, but Michael could see she was conflicted. That night at dinner, Jennifer brought it up again. Michael, about what you said earlier. About getting married? Yes. Michael, I need to tell you something. Michael's stomach tightened. What? During these months alone, I realized some things about myself. About us. What things? I realized that by the end of our marriage, I was trying to be the perfect wife, always cheerful, always supporting you, never showing my own struggles. I think that's part of why you felt suffocated. Michael looked at her in surprise. What do you mean? Michael, you weren't the only one who was unhappy, I was too. But I thought my role was to keep you happy, so I hid my own feelings. Jennifer, I never asked you to do that. You didn't, but I did it anyway. And I think it made our relationship feel artificial. Michael processed the information. Are you saying you don't want to try again? I'm saying that if we try again, it has to be different. We have to be honest about our feelings, even when they're not pleasant. I agree with that. And we have to be sure it's what we really want, not just what seems to make sense. How can we be sure? Jennifer thought for a moment. I think we need to get to know each other again. As the people we are now, not the people we were a year ago. And how do we do that? By talking, really talking, about everything, our fears, our dreams, our frustrations. Michael nodded. Can I start? Go ahead. Jennifer, I'm afraid I won't be a good father. My own dad was absent, always working, and I kind of followed the same pattern. I'm scared of repeating his mistakes. Jennifer seemed surprised by his honesty. Michael, the fact that you're aware of it is already a good sign, and you can choose to be different. What about you? What are you afraid of? I'm afraid I was too young to get married. I married at 22, barely knowing who I was. Now, at 27, I feel like I'm still figuring it out. And do you think that's a bad thing? I think it explains why I accepted your divorce request without fighting. Maybe part of me also wanted to discover who I was on my own. And have you? I'm getting there. I've learned I'm stronger than I thought, that I can manage on my own when I need to. But I've also learned that doesn't mean I can't accept help. Michael smiled. That's progress. It is. And you? What have you learned about yourself? I've learned that freedom without you means nothing. That professional success without someone to share it with is empty. And that being afraid to show vulnerability almost cost me the most important person in my life. Jennifer was silent for a moment. Michael, this conversation gives me hope. Hope for what? That maybe we can make it work this time. Michael felt his heart race. Does that mean you're considering my proposal? It means I'm considering trying again. Slowly, no pressure, seeing how things unfold. And marriage. Let's take it step by step. First, we need to be sure we can be a couple again. Then we can think about making it official. Michael smiled and reached out his hand to her. Fresh start, then. Jennifer took his hand. Fresh start. In the weeks that followed, Michael and Jennifer made an effort to get to know each other again. They talked for hours about everything. Work, family, future plans, fears, joys. It was like dating all over again, but with the maturity of people who had already been through hardships. Michael discovered Jennifer had changed a lot during their months apart. She was more independent, more confident in her opinions, less concerned with pleasing others, and strangely that made her even more attractive to him. Jennifer found that Michael had changed too. He was more emotionally open, less focused solely on work, more willing to show vulnerability. She began to see the man she'd fallen for in medical school, but matured by experience. One evening, as they were watching a movie in the living room, Jennifer started feeling mild contractions. Michael, she said, pausing the movie. What is it? I think I'm having contractions. Michael immediately shifted into doctor mode. How long? They started an hour ago. At first I thought it was just discomfort, but they're getting more regular. How often? Every 15 minutes or so. Michael checked the clock. It was 9 at night. Let's go to the hospital. It's better not to take any chances. Michael, maybe it's a false alarm. Jennifer, you're 36 weeks along. If it's real labor, it's a bit early. I'd rather have you examined by Dr. Emily. At the hospital, they confirmed Jennifer was in premature labor. Dr. Emily managed to delay the process with medication, but warned that the baby would likely arrive in the next few days. We'll monitor you both closely. said Dr. Emily. The baby is a good size for 36 weeks, so there shouldn't be any serious problems. Michael stayed at the hospital with Jennifer for the next 48 hours. During that time, they talked about how things would change with the baby's arrival. "Michael, I'm nervous," Jennifer admitted. "Why?" "Because everything's going to change. Our dynamic, our routine, our relationship. But it'll change for the better." "How can you be so sure?" Michael thought before answering. "Because we'll make it work. Together. What if we can't? We will. Jen, look at what we've been through these past few months. Divorce, a hidden pregnancy, reuniting, making up. If we got through all that, we can get through anything." Jennifer smiled. "When you put it like that, it sounds like we're unstoppable." "We are, when we're together." On the morning of the third day, the contractions came back full force. This time, there was no stopping labor. Michael held Jennifer's hand through it all. She was scared and in pain, but also determined. When it was finally time to push, he encouraged her with every contraction. "You can do this, Jen. Almost there." "Michael, I can't anymore," she said, exhausted. "Yes, you can. One more time, our baby's almost here." With a few more pushes, the baby was born. A little girl, small but healthy, who cried loudly the moment she entered the world. "She's perfect," Michael said, tears in his eyes. "Can I see her?" Jennifer asked, worn out but eager. The nurse placed the baby in Jennifer's arms. Michael sat on the edge of the bed, watching the two most important people in his life. "What should we name her?" Jennifer asked. "We never talked about that," Michael realized. "How about Emma?" Jennifer suggested. "Emma," Michael repeated, testing the name. "Emma Johnson. Perfect." The baby opened her eyes for the first time and looked straight at Michael. His heart melted completely. "Hi, Emma," he whispered. "I'm your daddy, and this is your mommy. We love you so much." Jennifer looked at Michael with tears in her eyes. "Michael, thank you." "For what?" "For being here. For taking care of me. For giving us a second chance." Michael kissed her forehead gently. "Thank you for forgiving me, for letting us be a family." In the following days at the hospital, they took turns caring for Emma. Michael was completely smitten with his daughter and surprised Jennifer with how naturally he handled a newborn. "Oh, you're a natural at this," Jennifer remarked, watching him expertly change Emma's diaper. "I studied a lot about newborn care these past few weeks," Michael admitted. "I wanted to be prepared." "Michael, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "What do you want to happen now, between us, I mean?" Michael paused and looked at her. "I want us to go home. All three of us. I want us to be a real family." "And marriage?" "Whenever you're ready. There's no rush. We already have what matters most." Jennifer smiled. "What matters most?" "Love, trust, and our daughter." "Michael, I love you." It was the first time she'd said it since they reunited. Michael felt like his heart might burst with happiness. "I love you too, Jen. Always have." They kissed softly, with Emma sleeping peacefully in her arms. When they were finally discharged from the hospital, they returned to Michael's apartment as a family. Jennifer didn't go back to her old place. They decided there was no point in maintaining two homes when they wanted to build one together. The first few months with Emma were intense. Like all first-time parents, they faced sleepless nights, unexplained crying, and the constant worry of doing everything wrong. But they faced it all together. Michael reduced his workload so he could help more with Emma. Jennifer, in turn, decided not to return to work immediately, choosing instead to devote herself entirely to motherhood in those early months. One evening, when Emma turned 3 months old, they were in the living room talking about the future. "Michael, I've been thinking about going back to work." "You want to return?" "I do. I love being a mother, but I also love medicine. I want Emma to see she can be a mom and have a career." "That makes perfect sense. What kind of work would you like to do?" "Actually, I've been thinking about opening a small clinic, something focused on women and children." Michael was excited by the idea. "That would be wonderful, and I could help, both financially and professionally. Michael, I don't want you to feel obligated. Jennifer, we're partners in everything. If you want to open a clinic, we'll open a clinic, Jennifer smiled. Partners, huh? Forever. 6 months after Emma's birth, Michael made a formal marriage proposal. It wasn't extravagant, just the two of them in the apartment after Emma had fallen asleep. Jennifer Baker Johnson, he said, kneeling with a simple but elegant ring. Will you marry me again? Jennifer laughed through her tears. Michael Johnson, I never wanted to marry anyone else. Is that a yes? It's an absolute yes. They married 3 months later in a small, intimate ceremony with only close family and friends. Emma, now 9 months old, was the youngest flower girl in the family's history. During the ceremony, as they repeated their vows, both had a much deeper understanding of what the words "in joy and in sorrow, in sickness and in health, till death do us part" truly meant. They had learned that relationships require constant work, honest communication, and the willingness to forgive and start over when needed. Jennifer's clinic became a great success in the community. She specialized in prenatal care for low-income women, offering quality services at affordable prices. Michael helped whenever he could, and together they created a program that benefited hundreds of families. Emma grew up surrounded by love and examples of how to face difficulties with dignity and perseverance. By age 2, she was already showing signs of her mother's strong personality and her father's determination. One afternoon, as Emma played in the backyard of the new house they had bought, Michael and Jennifer talked about their future plans. Michael, do you regret anything? Do you regret? I regret asking for a divorce the way I did, but I don't regret going through all of it. Why? Because it made us stronger. It taught us to value what we have. And it gave us Emma. Jennifer nodded. It's strange to think that if you hadn't asked for a divorce, we might never have learned how to truly love each other. Do you think we needed to go through that? I think we needed to grow as people. And sometimes, growth comes through pain. Michael watched Emma chasing a butterfly with joyful laughter. It was worth it. It was, Jennifer agreed, taking his hand. They sat in silence for a moment, watching their daughter play. Michael, do you want more children? Michael smiled. I do. Do you? I do. But this time, let's plan better. This time, we'll do everything together. Promise? I promise. And they kept that promise. 2 years later, little Ethan was born, completing the family they had built from the ruins of a broken relationship. Michael never forgot the lesson he learned during that difficult time, that true love isn't just a feeling, but also a choice. The choice to stay, to fight, to forgive, and to grow together. Jennifer learned that independence and love aren't opposites, that she could be strong and vulnerable at the same time, and that accepting help didn't make her any less capable. Together, they built a relationship based on honesty, mutual respect, and the understanding that marriage is constant work, worth every effort when done with the right person. Years later, when Emma and Ethan asked how their parents met, Michael and Jennifer told the whole story, including the mistakes, the separation, and the reconciliation. They wanted their children to know that true love isn't perfect, but it is resilient. Real love, Jennifer would tell the kids, is the kind that survives the worst moments and grows even stronger. And sometimes, Michael would add, we need to lose something to discover its true worth. Emma and Ethan grew up knowing their parents had fought for their love, and that gave them a solid foundation for what to expect in their own future relationships. Michael never went back to that grocery store where he reunited with Jennifer, but he always remembered that day as the moment his real life began, the day he discovered he had a second chance to do things right. Jennifer, in turn, kept a photo of that grocery store on her desk at the clinic. To her, it represented the place where she learned that even in the hardest moments, life can surprise us with opportunities for a fresh start. Harold, the store security guard who had called Michael when Jennifer fell ill, became a family friend. Every year on Emma's birthday, he received an invitation to the party. Michael and Jennifer never forgot that he had played a crucial role in their lives at that pivotal moment. Mr. Frank, the store manager, eventually lost his job due to questionable practices. Michael and Jennifer had nothing to do with it, but were relieved to know other employees wouldn't have to go through what Jennifer had endured. Dr. Emily, the obstetrician who cared for Jennifer, became not just the family's doctor, but also a close friend. She attended Ethan's birth and often said Michael and Jennifer were one of the most determined couples she knew. Robert, Michael's best friend, served as best man at their second wedding and often reminded Michael how lost he had been before reuniting with Jennifer. "You were a zombie," he'd say. "You only came back to life when she returned to yours." Amanda, Jennifer's sister, struggled at first to forgive Michael for what he'd done to her sister. But over time, seeing Jennifer's happiness and Michael's genuine effort to be a good husband and father, she eventually welcomed him back into the family. The new house they bought was on a quiet street with a large backyard where the kids could play. Michael made sure it included a small office for Jennifer so she could see private patients at home when she wanted. Jennifer's clinic grew and became a trusted name in the area. She hired other doctors and nurses, creating jobs and improving healthcare for low-income women. Michael contributed financially and sometimes volunteered for shifts. Emma grew up surrounded by books and educational toys, but also had the freedom to get dirty playing in the yard. Ethan inherited his father's scientific curiosity and his mother's determination, always asking tough questions and trying new things. Michael and Jennifer established family traditions that strengthened their bond. Every Sunday was family outing day without exception. Every Friday night was movie night at home, with popcorn and lots of cuddling on the couch. And every wedding anniversary, they renewed their vows in front of their children, reminding each other of the promises they had made. Their relationship wasn't perfect. They still had arguments, still faced everyday stress, and still had to work constantly to keep communication open and honest. But they had learned to face problems together, rather than letting them create distance between them. Michael never had another professional crisis, like the one that almost destroyed his marriage. He had learned to recognize the signs of stress and depression and always talked to Jennifer when he felt overwhelmed. She in turn no longer tried to be the perfect wife, showing her vulnerabilities and frustrations without fear of judgment. The apartment where they lived during their reconciliation became a kind of sanctuary for them. It was where they went when they needed to talk about serious matters or simply when they wanted to remember the time they won each other back. The end of the story. So, what did you think of this story of overcoming and true love? Achieving a happy ending after so much hardship shows that it's worth fighting for the ones we love. Share in the comments which part moved you the most and whether you believe in the power of forgiveness in relationships. Leave a like if the story touched your heart and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories like this one.